Hey, and welcome to another edition of the Five Star Zone. I'm your host, Rico Beard. Big Ten Week 3 preview. And locally here in the state of Michigan, Michigan and Michigan State, to me, I call these free square games. These are the games that you can kind of get your offense and get your defense right. Both teams favored by a ton of points. And this is where you get ready for that next stage of the season. Michigan has a game against USC in the following weeks. Michigan State will be headed to Boston College. But for right now, let's start with the University of Michigan. You get Arkansas State, fresh off of the loss from Texas. This is the type of game that the Wolverines need. This is the type of game that builds your confidence back up because you're going to see, passes being completed. You're going to see you're going to be able to run the ball. You're going to see your defense step up and make plays. Going up against Arkansas State. Now, for Michigan, offensively, what you're probably going to see is a lot of running the ball. Arkansas State has given up a lot of rushing yards, and I think that this is where Donovan Edwards and Khalil Mullings really establish themselves early and often and really they dictate the tempo. And that's what Michigan hasn't been able to do really in the first couple of weeks. In this game, you can build that confidence up and you can really feel good about your team. Donovan Edwards has not had great games. This is going to be a game where I think Donovan Edwards is going to get over 100 yards. Matter of fact, you may get over 100 yards and a touchdown from both Edwards and Khalil Mullings. This is a game where you may even see more of Alex Orji because Michigan should be able to run the ball effectively against Arkansas State. The Red Wolves, their run defense is not that great. So this should be, even though they're 2-0, this is something that Michigan should be able to do. Now, on offense, on defense, I think for Michigan, the problem will be Jalen Raynor. He's a dual threat quarterback for the Red Wolves, containing him, keeping him in the pocket. But you got a couple of first round draft picks on your defensive line. You got Will Johnson. You're going to have to make that tackle. You're going to have to go out there and make sure that you can contain him and keep him in the box. That's the biggest thing for this Wolverine team, not to let Raynor get outside the pocket, not to let him exert his will, but realize you're University of Michigan. You're coming off a back-to-back Big Ten titles with three-time Big Ten champion and winning a national title. You cannot, I implore you, you cannot let Arkansas State at any moment feel like they're in this game. What you don't want is a game similar to Fresno State where all of a sudden Fresno State starts to believe. Because if that's the case, then that's when Jalen Raynor becomes a problem because now he's got nothing to lose. Crush his will early and often, run the ball. I think that's going to be the strategy for Michigan. As far as Michigan State goes, you have Prairie View coming in, and I think Michigan State's like 40.5-point favorites. This is a game where if I'm Jonathan Smith, I challenge my guys, go out there. Aiden Childs, who just turned 19, if you can go out there and give me 4 touchdowns early in the game, I'm going to go ahead and pull you out and bring in the backup. That should be the goal for the starters because the only bad can happen in this game, and that's injury and interceptions. And this is a game that I think you should be able to cut down on the interceptions. This is a game that I think you should be able to cut down on the turnovers. This should be a game that the defense should be able to get third down stops and get off the field. This is the game that the offense should get to clicking. This is a game that, it shouldn't be 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It should just be 3 steps forward. That's what you get when you play games like this. And yeah, if I'm Jonathan Smith, as I said before, I'm going to challenge Aiden Childs in that offense. Give me 4 touchdowns and you're out of the game. If you can get it on the first 4 drives, great. I will bench you guys and I will put my backups in. Because if you're MSU, that's the key. If your starters are still playing in the third quarter, something went wrong. And now you're scratching your head wondering what is going on. This is a game that, look, it's a 3:30 kickoff. Spartan fans should be feeling good about themselves and leaving the game early if things go as planned, which I think they should. You saw it was a Nick Marsh show in week 2. You'll probably get more of Nick Marsh, but I think this is a game where you're going to see some guys that you normally haven't seen before. The Antonio Gates Juniors, those types of guys will be able to get some time. The 2s and the 3s should get a lot of playing time. It's a get-right game for both Michigan, Michigan State. Could be fool's gold. What I will simply say is this: Spartan fans, Wolverine fans, only believe about 30% of what you see this upcoming Saturday, because I think both teams should win and win easily. It's not what your team really is. It just means that you guys are playing 2 winnable games. So it should be easy. You should be able to relax, and you should be able to get ready for the next week, because week 4, that's going to be where the rubber hits the road. That's going to be where you're going to find out how tough the teams are. But as of right now, locally, Michigan, Michigan State, I like to say you got the free square going on. The other big games, really 2. Purdue versus Notre Dame. Notre Dame coming off of the upset loss to Northern Illinois. This is a game where I would simply say this: watch out for Purdue. Reason being, in college hoops, Oakland University gives the in-state schools, especially Michigan State, fits. Why? Because your players all believe that they should have gone to the bigger universities, and this is their chance to prove to the coaches that I'm just as good as that guy. Why do I say this? Because Purdue and their players are all going to think, I was good enough to get into Notre Dame, but you guys didn't take me. I expect Purdue to come out here and give a hard-fought battle. I do think Notre Dame is going to bounce back from last week's disappointment. I don't think this is going to be an easy game for them. I think Purdue at home is going to give Notre Dame fits. The crowd should be there. It's a 3:30 kickoff. Just something to watch out for. I don't think Notre Dame's going to lose 2 in a row, but I don't think that Purdue's going to get pushed over either. The other big game is Alabama traveling to Wisconsin. If this game took place in November, I would have a different outcome for this. I don't. Not in this game. I think in this game, it's going to be exactly what everybody thinks. I think Alabama's going to go into Madison, and I think Alabama and Jalen Milroe will have their way with Wisconsin. Wisconsin's still trying to come up with this offense. Really still looks weird. I'm still used to ground and pound Badgers, but for Wisconsin, just if it sounds weird, but if you could turn Jalen Milroe into a passer, I think you're going to have a shot. But if Milroe gets to going, he becomes a business decision. Once he gets a head of steam going, that's when it becomes problematic for teams. And going into Wisconsin, I don't see how Wisconsin slows down Kalen DeBoer and the Crimson Tide. Once again, if this game was being played later in the year, would the weather would be a factor? Yeah. You know what? I think I would actually pick Wisconsin, but this game, no. I think in this game, I think Alabama will end up winning it. Also, you do have rivalry games, old Pac-12 teams playing each other in games that means a lot. I will say, be on upset alert for Washington State taking on Washington in the Apple Cup, and Oregon taking on Oregon State. Now, Oregon is not. I don't know what's going on with Oregon, okay? They've just not lived up to the preseason hype, but in both Washington State and Oregon State, they still feel rejected. Now, the Pac-12 has just added 6 new teams. They need to get to, I think, 2 more they've added 4 more teams. They need 2 more to become an actual real conference, let's just say. They added Fresno State, Boise State, Boise State, 2 more states, teams. San Diego State, and I forgot the last state team. But they still need another school to come in there and help them out. So if they're still smarting, they're still not happy with how things went down. And when you look at this, I think you're looking at 2 schools who they're still angry. They're still like the X, man. And the X never, ever, 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 ever wants you to look good against them. This is their way of saying, you know what, screw you, you left us. So there's going to be a lot of pride on the line for those 2 schools. I I don't want to say it means more. Colorado State, that's the other state. I don't want to say it means more for the other schools, for Oregon State and Washington State. But I do think that those two schools will have a bigger chip on their shoulder when it comes to these games because they felt left behind. They got left. They did. They were the last two remaining, and everybody else found a new home. So just something to watch out for. Those two games going to be very interesting, especially the Washington State game. Just something to watch out for. Washington's favorite 4.5. Oregon's favorite 16.5. But as I said, Oregon just hasn't been living up to snuff. But anyway, that's your Big Ten Week 3 preview. The other games, looking at them, should not be a problem in any of these. Well, I take that back. Let's rewind the tape. Indiana and UCLA. That is going to be a game out at UCLA. Indiana's going to travel, get a real test. I don't know what it is, but something happens when Big Ten teams cross the Mississippi River and go west. It's never a good result for those teams during the season. I think the same thing is going to hold true. Now, Cignetti has Indiana humming right now. And, Deshaun Foster, the UCLA is just, they haven't found their rhythm yet, but I think this is going to be a game where UCLA is going to force Indiana to play their style, and I think UCLA is going to end up coming away with the victory in this game. So something to watch out for. All right, that's your Big Ten preview for Week 3. I'm your host, Rico Beard. Thanks for watching. I'll be back later on as we wrap up and we see if I was right and what actually happened in the games with the Week 3 wrap-up. But for now, keep liking, keep subscribing. The 5 Star Zone with your host, Rico Beard. I'll see you soon.